unmuted.
Hello everyone, good morning, good evening. Okay, so good morning. Yeah, hi everyone. Hi Amit, hi Deepak. Hello. So let's wait for a minute. So let's other people to join. Hi Kasif. Hi, good evening, Venkat. Hi Nitish. Hi Mukit. Hello Amrita. I missed few lectures. Okay, so Amit is asking some question. I dropped an email to tech support to postpone the classes for next week due to Diwali. I'm not sure, Amit. I did not get any confirmation from their side. Kasif, I missed. Can I get the record? Yes, you might be getting, right? So if you don't get that, just contact to the support team, Kasif. So Venkat, tomorrow actually I have one plan. I need to pick up someone from the airport. So maybe half an hour, means it will be 2.5 hour session, but it is still tentative. It's not confirmed, but if it is confirmed, then 2.5 hour class tomorrow. Otherwise, it will be 3 hours. Can we log into Minikube VirtualBox with using Solvay? You can do it with, because it's a virtualization, Deepak. So you need to go with the SSH, as I have shown you last time. Is it possible to reschedule Diwali classes? So, guys, I understand there is a Diwali, even we celebrate Diwali. So, just means if all of you send the mail to support team, I'm okay. But you need to just, send an email to them. So, I think Diwali is on 27th. 27th of October, which is Sunday. How can we get the user ID and password? Which user ID password you're saying? So Minikube is actually, Deepak, I would suggest you don't spend much time on that. Better to concentrate on this. Minikube is basically for, for training purpose. Means if you want everything on one box, then we use the virtualization, and which is not that much useful. So better you concentrate or spend the time on the KubeADM. to use volume storage or both in Kubernetes container. Volumes actually, it's not a part of the syllabus, but I will try. If time permits today, I will show you that volume, how to create that. That I will show you, Mukesh. I know by when do we submit our assignment. You can see, Amrita, it is up to you. So you can go through and you can send that assignment anytime once you get the time. Okay. Right. Okay. So let's start today's lecture. Rest of the thing we will discuss later. So today we are going to if you remember, all of you, that last time when we discussed, we have created a port, and in the port which I explained you, it is nothing but it is having one or more containers, right? So today we will talk little bit more, and we will write some more coding on ports or configuration. So today I would first like to start the configuration. Okay, so let me open my notes, and meanwhile I will start my machine. One machine is already started. This is master, so you can see here it is master, right? So I'm on the master machine. Let me go to my Ubuntu directory. Now I'm in the Ubuntu directory. Okay, so first let us talk about the configuration map. Okay, so port lifecycle we have discussed last time. Now let us talk about configuration map. So what is configuration mapping? So configuration mapping is basically a way when you do some configurations. Configuration in the sense you have some variables, and that variables has some values. It can be the file variables, means you have a configuration files, or it can be the environmental variables. So which is on your host machine, and you want to map it with your ports. Okay, so in that case your configuration is basically on your host machine, and you are mapping it with the ports. So what is the configuration files? Means configuration data. So configuration data in the Kubernetes, it is in the form of key value pair. Okay, and that key value pair can be configuration files, can be command line argument, or can be environmental variable. Okay, so I think when I show you practically, then it will be more clear to you. And similar way, for if you remember, when we talked about the master components, we talked about etcd. So etcd is basically the one which stores the sensitive data. So that also comes under the configuration. So now our topic is basically configuration. Let me open my notepad. So now the topic is configuration. So in configuration, first we are going to talk about configuration map. Okay, or config map. So here what we are going to do, we are going to create the key value pair. and what this key value pair. Key means your variable, okay. So key is some variable and value could be anything. So value could be the file content, value could be the some environmental variable, okay. So let us see how to do that, how to create it. Let me see, is there any other thing we have in the theory? We will have the demo. So for that, as I shared some files last time with you, you can go to the second file, which is the config map. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to create a config map with the multiple files, from multiple files, and we will consume these files through inside the ports by using volumes. Okay, here I am using volume. So volume is nothing but it's same as your Docker volume, which we can mount it, right? So let us see what to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create, so your practical basically starts from here. Let's create two files. One file is, so this is the command to create the file. You can create with the vi editor, nano command, cat, it's up to you. I'm just using the echo command. So I'm going to create a file. So I'm on the master server and I already have a directory. So if I say ls, so there is no directory, okay. If I say cd Kubernetes, let me just check. ls, yeah, I have a directory which is config map. So I'm going inside the config map. Okay, and now if I say ls, so there are some files. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a file here, file1.txt file. Okay, and same way I'm creating one more file, which is file2.txt. So I have created these two files. Okay, so if I say cat file1 file hyphen 1.txt, so you can see it is having the value none. So let me increase font a little bit. So it is 12, let me make it 14. Okay, so it has the content non-sensitive data inside file1. Same way, if you cat file2.txt, then you can see non-sensitive data inside file2. Okay, so I have these two files created. Fine, now next I'm going to create a config map, and to create a config map, what you need to write, kubectl create kubectl create config map. This is the command. Then the configuration map file name, not file name, the name of the configuration map, and there is a option hyphen hyphen from file. So I want to create a configuration file or the configuration mapping from a file1.txt, and also another from the file2.txt. So let me run this command and let us see what will happen. So I'm going to run this command, enter. Okay, so configuration mapping is created. Now let me remove these two files. So I'm going to remove these two files. I'm saying. This, I think it is file1.txt and file2.txt. So I have removed these two files. So if I say ls, now these two files does not exist. Now let me see my configuration mapping. So I will copy this command. So I will run it, kubectl get configuration map, and here you can see there is a configuration map get created. Okay, now let me, I can I can see the YAML format, but before that I want to show you the describe command. So I want to describe my configuration map. So my configuration map name is Nginx, right? So I'm just describing this Nginx. So now here you can see data. So there are two data. One data is file1.txt, another data is file2.txt. This file1.txt is my key, and the data and the value is non-sensitive data inside file1. Second key is file2.txt, which has the non-sensitive data inside file2. Okay. So there are two keys I have. So it means I have two data inside it. Okay. And now if you want to see in the YAML format this config map or JSON format, you can see it by using this command. You need to pass the YAML. Okay. So here also you can see API version v1, data is file1.txt. So file1.txt is my key, and file2.txt is my another key, which has this value. Now, okay, so why it is overlapped. Okay, now if you want to run the same command, yeah, Amit, I will explain the real-time use also. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just running this command again. That is lost here. If you want to see the same data in the JSON format, so you can see in the JSON format as well, where it is saying API version, data, kind, configuration map, metadata, and everything. Okay. Now, this configuration mapping I have created. Now, this map is being consumed by one or more ports. So, how to consume it? So, to consume this, what you need to do, you need to create a YAML file. So, I'm creating one YAML file, and that is my port file. So, here if you see, the kind is port. Okay, so if you see API version, that I have explained in the last class, what is API versions and what is the format of that and what is the table, right? Second is the kind. So kind is port, and name of the port, metadata I am explaining here. What is metadata? It is basically the name of the port is this Nginx port config volume. Next is the specification. So this port is having a container, and name of the container is Nginx container, and it is having the image Nginx. Now here I am using volume to basically explain this. I am using volume. So I will come to this volume mounts. So volumes. Here I am defining one volume. So you can consider volume similar to the volume as in the Docker. Okay. So I am creating one volume which is test volume, and I am saying this test volume is having a linkage with the configuration map, or it is having a configuration map inside it. So what is that configuration map? So my configuration map is Nginx configuration map volume. So what is that? This configuration map. So I want to utilize this configuration map which I have created, and here my key value, which is file1.txt, it should be in a path file a.txt. It means wherever I am using file1.txt, there will be one file get created, and that file name is file a.txt. And same way, file2.txt will be the content of this file.txt will be stored it into the file b.txt. But where these file A and B get stored, these get stored here. So in the volume mounts, I am saying I want to mount a volume, test volume, and the mount path is this. So the mount path is etc non-sensitive data. So it means under etc non-sensitive data, there will be one file get created, and its name will be file a.txt, which will have the value which file1.txt key is having. So we have seen it has the data which is the content of the file, and same way there will be one file get created which will have the data for the file2.txt inside file b.txt. So let me create this file. I think I already have copied that file. So if I say ls, so there is a port configuration file, I already created it, right? So now I'm going to run this file, and to run it we need to create the port. It's a normal port command which we have used it last time as well, right? I'm going to copy this and I'm going to run it. Okay, so this get created, so you can verify by using get port command. So if I go and use this, so you can see one volume get created, not volume, that my port get created with volume. Okay, and if I say my configuration map, if you want to see the detail, so if I say insert, so this is the configuration map, same which we have created earlier, it is the same. Now let me describe my port. So I am describing my port. So in this port, what you can see, let us see what is inside the port. Okay, so here you can see container information, and there is a volume information as well. There is a volume information, test volume, right? Here you can see this is the volume information, and this volume has a type config map. Okay, so it means it has the configuration mapping in the test volume. Okay, now let us go inside the port, because here what we have done, we have mounted it into this path. So for that we will go inside the port network. So I am going by running this command, and that also we have discussed last time. Okay, I am inside the port, and now I will go to this folder, etc non-sensitive data. So I am going inside. Okay, now if I say ls, you can see there are two files, file a.txt. If I say file -a.txt. It should have file1 data. Okay, so you can see non-sensitive data from inside file1, right? And if I say cat file b.txt, so you can see the data from file 2 which gets stored into the file b.txt. Okay, so basically what I did, configuration map is used for decoupling from pod and its component. Okay, so we are using some configuration files, and these configuration files we can use as the key value pair in the uh, in the which basically stores the configuration file in the key value pair. Okay, so that information we are having in the configuration, and it could be the non-sensitive data, and we have seen in the describe command of the config map that we can see the data. File1.txt is having this data, file2.txt. So it should be non-sensitive data. It should not be a sensitive data. So if it is a sensitive data, we will talk about that in the secrets. Okay, so this configuration data, it could be your Apache server configuration file, or it could be some values you want to pass to the port through your host system, right? So for that we use the configuration map. Anyone has any question? Okay, I don't see any question. Okay, so this is the one way. Okay, so Venkat, so as I explained you, this could be your configuration file, or it could be your kind of some data which you want to transfer from your machine uh, to the port network. So, for example, there is a Apache server, and you want to change the configuration file, or there is a file where you want to change the, or you want to create the data from your system uh, to the port network, then you will use configuration mapping. Okay, so actually I'm not getting the uses of configuration file. Okay, so let me explain you some of the use case. For example, MySQL server. Okay, your pod is having MySQL server, and you want to set some environmental variables, or you want to set some, you know the environmental variables, right? So MySQL server is using some environmental variable. That value is that value is an example in your some text file, and you want to use that value as your environmental variable. So what you will do, you will create that, you will map your file with your port network using config map and pass that value. This is the one case. Second, Say an example, you have uh, some configuration file of your Apache server which you want to modify, or you want to have some keys which is stored in some files onto your local system, or on your host system, that you want to map it with your port. Then we are going to use configuration map. Is it clear to everyone? Amit, Venkat? It is like sync folder. No, it is not like sync folder. Sync folder, for that we can use the volumes, but here there is a key and values. So I'm just passing some information, and that information I can pass through the files, I can pass through the environmental variables. So next example will be the environmental variables. Or UA system analyst or developer or DevOps. So you are asking me. I'm asking. Yes. I'm Ashish. I'm as a DevOps admin these days. From last 5 years, I'm in a DevOps. So Ola, right. So you can update the information, but again you need to provide that information. Again you need to create the config map, or you can edit the existing config map. Okay, so let me just repeat it. So I think steps everyone understand how to create it. Now the use case is that, say an example, my SQL server is running on the port, and what do you want? You want that there are some environmental variable is to be set for this, and these environmental variables values on my host machine. Okay, or I want a file which has some data, a file which has some data related to MySQL. That data, mostly it is used for the configuration. It is not used for copy paste kind of thing. Okay, so that's why it is called config map. It's not volumes. Okay, so now what I want, that some data of my configuration file is to be copied to my local machine, or from local machine to port network. Then I will use config map. Say an example, you want to copy the data which is, say, username and password. This is not the right case, but to explain this configuration, you want to take that information from your local system or host system, and you want to move it into the port by using some variables. Then in those scenarios, we are going to use the config map. Is it clear to everyone? You can create, Amit. You can create the variables that is inside the port, but there is some configuration which is on your host file, that from your host, if you want to pass it to the port, then you use the config map. If everything is in the port, then you need not to use the config map. But if there is something which is required to move the environmental variables or some configuration from your host system to the port, then you use the config map. So yeah, Anand, you can log into the port, but how you will move the data, right? How you will set the environmental variables? You cannot set in the key value. So for that you need to create the config map. Can't we modify it directly on the config file? Yes, Amit, you are correct. It's not a shared path, Deepak. For shared path, we use the volumes. It is just to, having some configuration which you want to move from your host system to the port. Some info variable configuration that will be able to move the between the environments. Some info variables. Yes, that is correct, Amrita. So it is asking off port. Yeah, Venkat. We can directly modify into the port also, but again, so if you want to pass, so one way is that you can directly go inside the port and do this. But say an example, there are multiple files or multiple configurations you want to map it, then instead of modifying directly on the port and your files are available on your host machine, better to use the configuration map. Okay, now this is the one case when I'm sending or mapping my data through file and I'm creating some files through the volume. Second use case is, or second case is, basically we want to use the environmental variable. Now if I want to create the environmental variables, I think everyone knows, like it's, if you have Java installed, Java home is your environmental variable for that. Okay, and environmental variable is basically which is available in your uh, uh, globally available on your box, right? So now here second is the literal value. So literal values are nothing but variables, we say it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a config map, and the name of config map is Redis config map environmental variable, and from. So from literal, so earlier I have used from file. Now I am saying from literal file dot one equals to file dot a. From literal file dot two equals to file dot b. So what it means? It means I am creating one variable. So literal means variable, and these are the environmental variable basically. And variable name is file dot one. So now the case is that you want to pass some global variables or some environmental variables to your system or to your port system basically. Okay, so now I'm saying file dot one equals to file dot a, and file dot, so file dot one is key and file dot b is the value. Okay, so let me do it. So let me run this. Okay, so config map is created. Now if you want to see, so get config map, so you can see in the environment, this is the second one which I have created, which has two data, means two variables. And if you want to describe it, if you want to see it into the YAML, that you can run the same command, but I am describing it. Okay, so here you can see data. My key is file1.1, file.1, which has value file.a. I have another key which is file.2 and which has value file.b. Okay, now I want to consume it now. So to consume it, this is my file. Okay, so what is it has? It has API version v1, kind port. So I want to, because this configuration map is used for consuming inside the port. So I'm saying API version v1, kind is port, and name of the port is this Redis port config maps environmental, and this port has the configuration container, and in the container name is Redis container and image is Redis. So this is, you can consider same as your some Nginx image we were using. Now I am using Redis. Okay, now I am using, instead of volume, here I am using environmental variable. Okay, so what is my environmental variable? My environmental variable name is file1. Okay, or your MySQL home, Maven home. Okay, and from where it will get the value? Okay, value from, it will take the value from the some configuration mapping. Okay, so configuration mapping reference, which configuration mapping? Which we have created here. So we have created this Redis config volume. So I am saying for this file1 environmental variable, take the configuration from this configuration map and take the value of file.1. So file.1 has value file.a. Same way, I want to create one more variable which is file underscore 2 and which takes the reference from this config map and it will have the value file.2. Okay, so let me run this. So let me run this code. So let me create the port. So I already have that file in here. If you see, I have Redis port, same file I have already created, and now I'm running this command. Okay, that port is created. So you can say kubectl get ports. So you can see one Redis port is created. Okay, now next is, if you want to print the kubectl get config map, that also if you want to print. So there is one more configuration map which was already there basically. Now if you want to describe your port, then you will find your environmental variable in the literals. So if I say describe my port, now here you can see Redis container. Okay, here you can see environmental variable file1 set to the key file.1. Okay, of this environmental for this configuration map. Okay, same way file2 is created, which will be mapped to key file.2 and from this configuration map. Okay, so we are done with this. Now let us see. So for that I can go inside my container. I'm inside my container, and if you write environmental variables, so you can see the environmental variable, and here you can see there is file1 which has value file.a and this is file2 which has file.b. So if you want to say env, and if you run the grep command, grep, and you say file. Okay, so you can see these two values, file underscore 1, which has value. So now it could be any variable. It could be your MySQL variable. It could be your Java home variable, not Java home basically, but variables which maybe you want to decide in the configuration mapping side. So that values you can define in the configuration map, and values can be picked up or mapped to the port by using config map. Okay, so Ashish, I want to. Okay, so for that, Ashish, you need to practice it. You need to because here, if I start writing these instead of copy paste, basically what will happen? Maybe it needs, I don't know how many hours. So if you want to practice it, just take one slide, take one code. First, understand what is in the code. So in the code, you can see there are four main components. First component is API version. Second is the kind. Third is metadata, and fourth is the specification. That is available to all type of our coding. So if you are creating a port, deployment, service, whatever you are creating, so these are the main component. And because it is a YAML, so you need to take care of the particular indentation as well. So say an example, metadata, under metadata I have name, under specification I have container, under container I have name, image, under environment. So this thing also you need to take care. So it is just, it's it's a kind of a shell script in the Linux. As much you practice, you will get perfect into that. Okay, so anyone else has any question? Okay, so I don't see any question. All right, so this is the configuration mapping. Same way we have secret management system. Same way we have the, so let me come out of this and let me, one thing is left, one second, one more thing I want to show you. So one thing that I went inside the container, inside the pod, and I run this command. Other way is that you can directly, without going inside, I think last time also I have explained you can simply write kubectl execute redis your environmental. You can directly run this command here. So what I'm doing, instead of going inside, I'm saying env grep file. So I will go here to my master and I will run it. So this way also you can run the command. Now let us do the cleanup. Let's delete our configuration mapping. So for that, what I will do, delete config map. So these commands are very much similar. If it is create, just write kubectl create config map, delete, delete. If you want to see the records, then get. So I'm copying this and I'm running this here. Okay, so these two are deleted. Same way I want to delete my ports, which I have created these two ports. So I'm going. Okay, so these two get deleted. Now consider the information which we have, it is a sensitive information. If it is a sensitive information, then you in the environmental variable or by using your file, you cannot show it to the others. So because it's a confidential information. So whenever there is a confidential information, then you use the secret management. And secret management is, you can say, it's same as your secret management is same as your configuration mapping. The only difference is that it is not, now it is not the confidential information. It was not confidential information. Now it is a confidential information. So let us see how to use the configuration management, how to use the secrets. Okay, let me, one second, let me get my mouse. Okay, so now let me go to my secrets file. Okay, so let me see our secrets. So Kubernetes objects to handle the small amount of data of small amount of sensitive data. So small amount of sensitive data may be your confidential information, your password, your keys. Okay. It reduces the risk of exposing the sensitive data by using secrets. It is created outside the port and stored inside the etcd database on the Kubernetes master. And there is a limit also. It cannot be more than 1 MB. And these, because config map and secrets, these are the configuration files, and configuration files are mostly not more than 1 MB. It is in KBs only. It is used for two types, volumes and environment. Exactly same thing what we have done in the configuration mapping. Same thing we are going to do it over here, but now for the secret management. Okay, so let us do that. So I will go to my secret management file, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a file called username.txt, and I'm storing it into the, I'm storing admin into that. Okay, so I will go to my master. Let me clear the screen. Let me say cd dot. Let me create a directory. I'll call. Let me see whether I have that directory or not. I have. Okay. cd secrets. Okay, but I don't have any file inside it. So what I want to do, I want to create a file, and this is the file name. I will go here, and my file name is username.txt, which has value admin. Same way, I want to create one more. No, it is not by default created, Amit. I have created myself. So to segregate the code. Otherwise, you can do it everything in one file, one directory. Okay, so if I say cat and username.txt, so you can find that it is having the value. this, and same way if I say cat password.txt, it has password. Okay. Now same, there I was using config-map, now I am using secret, and this is the generic nginx secret volume from file username.txt and this. Okay, so I am storing that, I am creating one key, my key will be my file name and the value will be the content of the file. So I am going to copy it, paste it here. Okay, it is created. Now you want to remove the file because this is the secret information, you don't want to keep it on your system. So I will say paste. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here, I will get my secrets. Okay, so if you see this, your secret information, so this is my new secret information. Okay, now if I want to describe my secret information, okay, and if I print it, so here you can see, now here you can see my, if you remember in the file in config map, we were having the file name as well as the value, but here there is no value. Okay, so type basically, Amit, it tells what type of secret management you are using, whether it is token based, whether it is which is the sensitive data which will be hidden. So it indicates that. So here, yes, so that is the generic type. So generic type is basically, here we define, if you see here, kubectl create secret, which is generic, it is not token based. Okay, so we are basically, if it is token, we need to define the token values, but we are not using the token, we are using the generic type. So now here password.txt and username.txt, these two are the variables or keys, and it has the value this, whatever it is gets stored into these files. In the user.txt I have stored this, but during the if I describe my secret, it will not show because it is a confidential information. Now I want to consume it. Now I want to consume this service. Same way, I will create one port. Okay, so let me create this port. So I will create the file name. Okay, and I will, if so it is the same thing. If you, I think now you can understand here. We have volume which has the secret information now, and secret name I am giving nginx secret volume, right? And this is my nginx secret volume which I have created, right? And the mount path is this. Okay, so and two keys which are configured to it, it will be get copied. So I will copy this and I will paste it here. Okay, so now let me save it and let me create the port. So I will say kubectl. This is the port which is consuming my secret information. Okay, so now the port is created. Now if you want to display get port, get secrets, so these commands you can run. Okay, so this is the port information, one port is running, and same way if you want to print the information of the secret, this is the secret information where you can see our secret volume, right? And if you want to describe your port, you can see. Okay, so this is here you can see volume, test volume, right? But you will not see the value of the username and password anywhere. Okay, but whereas in the case of ConfigMap, you have seen that value was displayed. Okay, now to validate it, we have run this, right? So you can go inside it. Okay, let us go inside it instead of directly printing. So I'm going inside the port. And now I'm going to that mount path, which is this. Okay, now if I say ls here, so there are two files, username.txt. If I say cat username.txt, so you can see admin. And if I say cat password.txt, and it is password. So I successfully moved my confidential information from my host machine to the port by using secret management. And this information, it was not showing, but it gets stored into the secret management database, which is etcd. Can we restrict the access to the port? That Amit, that is again that there our firewalls comes into the picture. So you need to restrict, you need to give the access accordingly. It's not easy as I thought to be. How long does someone need if is very new to? So Ashish, it's not tough. Trust me, it is not tough. Once you start writing the code yourself, then you will realize that only 4 sections, as I explained you, API version, kind, metadata, and spec. That is enough. So after that, after 2 or 3 programs, if you do the practice, you will find, because see, YAML we are going to use completely in the Ansible also. Okay, so it is just a practice. By seeing this program, maybe you think that how can I write this, but if you have little bit scripting knowledge, it will be very easy for you. Okay, now same kind of thing, same. So we have done this. Now let us do the same thing by using literals. Okay, so you can try these commands yourself without going inside the container. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create the environmental variables. And to create the environmental variables, same concept which we were using in the config map. Now what I'm doing here, I'm just checking what is the encryption of a particular string. So encryption is basically your data is not encryption and decryption. There are techniques which we use for data. When your data is traveled on the wire, at that time you want to maintain the encryption. Your data should not be a plain text. Okay, so if you want to send some environmental variable, again you want to encrypt it and then you want to send it. So for that, base 64 is basically one of the algorithm which is used to encrypt your data. So if I say what is the base 64 encryption value of, so if I say I'm inside the container, okay, let me come out of this. Let me clear the screen. And if I say what is the value of this encryption, means admin. So admin is a value. And if I encrypt it with the base 64, what is the value? So this is the value. Okay, so this is equal to admin. This value is equal to admin. Same way, if I want to, why I want this? Because now I am sending this information as the environmental variable. So I am copying this and I want to check the password 64 variables. Okay. So now here, basically what is happening here now, I have created two variables. One is my admin variable, not variable, basically it is a value. So if I make a encryption of admin on base 64 algorithm, then the value is this YWRTAW4, right? And if I use password, this is my password, and if I encrypt it, then it will be something like this. Now let us see where to use these variables. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a YAML file, okay, for my secret management. Okay, and my YAML file name is this one. So I'm creating one YAML file. And here I'm creating a secret management. So same way, you have to create one API version, kind is secret, metadata is the name of your secret, type is opaque, data is this, password is this. So now I'm going to create this. Okay. Now here you can see my username is my encrypted value. My password is my encrypted value. So I'm saying there are two variables. One variable is username, which has value this, which is the encrypted value. So if someone see my code, he cannot determine here that what this value is. But I know this value belongs to text admin. Okay, I will save this. Now I need to run this. So now let me run this. It's a type debug. Basically, you are just using some generic method to create your secrets. So that is called means where you are using key value pair. Okay, so I'm creating this YAML file. So this is created. Now if you see your secrets, so you can see this secret volume and volume we have created earlier. Now it is the environmental one, right? And now if you describe, let us see the description of this. Now you can see here, it is saying there is a password and username, but these are blank, right? There is no value associated with this, but in reality that is stored in some database. Okay, now I want to consume it. To consume it, I will create a pod. So I'm creating a pod, and I'm going to same way I'm creating a kind pod. API version, metadata is my name of the pod, right? And I'm using container Redis, and I'm using a variable, environmental variable, username. Value comes from the secret reference, and my secret reference is my name of the secret variable, and I want to take the username. Same way, secret password, value from secret reference, and the name is the password. Okay, copy. Now let me paste it here. Let me save it. Okay, now I want to run it. To create it, I'm going to use this. Okay, kubectl create -f, right? I want to create my pod, and if you say kubectl get pod, so it basically gives you that information. This pod is now created, and if I say describe, so if I say kubectl describe and my pod, okay, so now it will, what happened? Kubectl, okay, pod I have missed. Okay, so I'm using pod, right? So it will describe that there is a environmental variable, and which is the secret username, and which has the secret password. Okay, and it is using the username key from the it is using the username key, and here it is using the password key. Okay, so I think so far everything is fine. So if you want to see, I'm directly running this command instead of going inside the pod. I'm running this. So I'm saying this and grab my secret information. Okay, so you can see my username is secret username is username, which is admin, and my password is password. Anyone has any question, any doubt? So there is token other type, Deepak. Both methods we can see the password. Password is actually password you can see once it is on the pod. But when it is on your host machine, you are transferring the sensitive data in a hidden format. That is what Venkat. Okay, so this finishes our secret configuration. So far we have discussed about configuration map, and so where the values get stored into the key value pair and the literals. So second, we have in the configuration, we have discussed about the secrets. Okay, so we are done with the secret demo. Now next topic is the controller. Okay, so these two are in the configuration. So next is the controllers. So controllers are basically controlling your ports. Say an example, you want to create the replication. Okay, so if you want to create the replication, you want to deploy something, that comes under the controllers. So there are different controllers are available into the Kubernetes. First is the replication controller. As you can see, or you can imagine with the name, it is basically replicate your ports, okay, on the worker nodes. So replication controller, it ensures that the specified number of ports are running at any time. Okay, so there will be a desired state, and that desired state is basically you are saying I want to run 2 ports. Okay, 2 replication, 1 port with 2 replications. 2 replication means 1 more copy if I want to create, or 2 more copies I want to create. So then I will set the replication level. Okay, so it ensures that specified number of ports are running at it and at any time. So main benefit of the replication control we have seen in the Docker Swarm as well, that in case if you are saying my 3 ports should run, and if one is down because of some reason, then replication control keep monitoring it, and it will check that out of 3, 2 are running, then it will start the port onto a particular worker node, wherever replication controller think that this port has the valid candidate to execute the or to run the port. So if there are exceed ports, they get killed, and vice versa. The new ports are launched when they get failed, get deleted or terminated. Replication controllers and ports are associated with the labels. So if you want to create the replication and you are saying I want to create the replication of a particular port, so the linkage between them is through labels. So labels we have seen in when we created the port, right? Not today, but in the first lecture of Kubernetes. Creating a replication control with a count 1 ensure that port is always available. So if you think that I want to run only 1 port, then better to go with the replication controller equals to 1. So in that case, the benefit by using replication controller is that the desired state is now 1. So in case your port is terminated with any reason, then it will be automatically get up and one instance will always run. So that is the replication control. Let me see if I have something else. Okay. So the benefit of the replication control is the high availability. So what is high availability? So it means if your pod is running with some desired state, say an example, it is 3 replications of the pod you have set, then it is always available. Means if your pod is terminated or killed by mistake, or on what one worker node it is not running, worker node is down, then it is the responsibility of the replication controller to create the desired state number of replication control for the pods. So high availability. Load balancing is also one of the use. So say an example, there are lot of users are accessing your pod, and now it thinks that the traffic on a particular pod is high, so it automatically use the load balancing to the particular replication pod which we have created. So here you can see these many users, they are accessing that particular pod, so it is automatically load balanced by the replication controller. Okay, so for that again we need to create a manifest file. First we need to create manifest file, and that file will go to the API server, and then API server will create the pods with the particular replication control on the worker node. So let us see the example. So for that I will go to my files and replication control. So first let me go to my system. Let me come out of this. I don't have replication controller, so let me create a directory, replication controller, and I will go inside replication controller and I will create a file. So here you can see again API version, so that again the table which I have shown you, and kind is, so now the kind is changed, kind is replication controller. Okay, so name of my replication controller is Nginx RC. Specification, there are 3 replicas are running. Okay, what template it is using? Template means what will be the pod and all that information. So pod information is basically inside the template. So metadata, so my pod name will be the Nginx, and I'm defining a label app equals to Nginx app. And specification, so this pod is basically having container, and the container name is Nginx container, image is Nginx, and the port which is used is port 80. And selector means selector, what it does. So selector means now in future if you want to find that replication controller is associated with which port, then I am saying selector is app. So what is app? App is associated with the label. So if you see label here, label is app. So selector basically selects a particular label which you want to link or associate a replication control to the port. So I'm saying with the help of the label I want to find it. Okay, so I will copy this. So first I will create this file. And here I'm going to copy this. Okay, so this is created. Now how to create the you need to use kubectl create command, create -f, and now let me run it. Okay, now it will create one port, but how many ports? 3 ports it will create. So if I see my port, if I see my ports, so there should be 3 ports running. So you can see there are 3 ports are running, and okay, I did not delete this. Okay. So there are 3 ports are running and all are running on my client. Okay, this is my master machine. And these are replication control, and it will give some number. Automatically it gives that number to my port. So number means some uniqueness. It's not number, it's a combination of number and alphabets. So it has created 3. See, 1, 2 and 3. 3 replicas are running. Now I want to list all the ports with the label Nginx applications. So if you want to list all the ports with the, these all are Nginx, right? So it is showing other information. So I want to see only the application. So now you can see there are three ports are running. Okay. Now I want to see the replication information. So this is my replication name. So I'm saying get replication. Okay. So I'm saying get replication Nginx minus Nginx -rc. So that is the name of my replication control. So now it is showing that name is this. There are 3 desired state, 3 are current and 3 are in the ready mode. Similar way, if you want to describe your replication control, let us see. So if I say describe replication controller, this one, and here you can see image is this, port is this, and here you can see replicas, 3 current, 3 desired, 3 are running, 0 waiting, 0 succeeded, 0 failed. Okay, so 3 are in the running state. Now next is, now I want to do a rescheduling. So in this case, what you need to do, that will be your homework. You need to reschedule it. So what is the purpose of this? So say an example, this is the command kubectl watch, right? So if you watch, it will be just like a monitoring. You are monitoring your ports, okay? And you can see it is not coming out of the command prompt. Now if one, say an example, one port is not running. So here it is showing running, so it will show not running. And when it is not running, then it will be automatically comes up because the desired state is 3. That you can try yourself. Okay, that will be your homework. But I am coming out of this. Control C. Now, if you want to increase scaling up your cluster, if you want to scaling up your cluster, you want that 5 replicas is to run. So simply say scale RC Nginx replicas 5. So now it is running 5. So if I say this, now you can see 5 replicas are running, right? And if I say get this, now you can see 5 replicas are running. Okay, so that is scale up. Same way, if you want to scale down, same command, you just need to change the number. So I want 2. Okay, now again if you run the command, now you can see 2 are running, right? Other is getting terminated, it is terminating that. Okay, now you can see only 2 ports are running. Okay, now let us do the cleanup. Right. In this case, it is very much similar to that, Venkat. So I want to delete the replication control. Delete. And I think so. Once you delete everything, so if you delete the replication control and if you see your ports, there is no port. Okay, and okay, so yeah, Anand, the difference between label and selector is label is basically a variable with some value, and selector basically whenever you are selecting. So I'm saying my replication controls are having these ports running. So here I'm checking where app equals to Nginx app. So that selection is done with the help of the selector only. So in the selector, which label variable you want to associate, that comes under the selector. Anyone has any other question? When we scale up, whether the replicas will be created from the image or copy of the existing code. When we test it. No, so it will be a fresh image, basically, Ashik. Okay, anyone else has any question? Okay, so what we will do, we'll take a break. Yes, Anand, you are right. So we'll take a 15 minutes break and we will see the rest of the thing. Okay, so let me start the timer for 15 minutes. Okay, we'll meet after 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm back. Whatever variable we define under table area, that we have applied. Okay. Okay, so now let's come back to the next topic, which is our replication set. So we have created replication controller. Now next is the replication set, and replication set is same as your replication controller, and replication set is basically the next generation replication controller, you can say. Okay, so it is also doing the same work as the replication controller is doing. So it ensures that a specified number of ports are running at it at any time. If there are exceeds, right? If there are excess ports, they get killed, and vice versa. New ports are launched when they fail, get deleted or terminated. Replication sets and ports are associated with the label. So same definition, right, which we have seen in the replication controller. Now there is a difference. The difference between replication set and replication controller is that the most notable difference between these two is that replication set is set based selector and replication controller is equality based selector. So replication set is the next generation of the replication controller. So what is the meaning of the set based replica sets or controller based or equality based selectors? So if you see this example, okay, so in this example I am creating one port, okay, and this port is you can see there is some labels. So I'm saying app is this, and now these are my selectors, right? So I'm defining the selector as label, right? I'm saying label app equals to guest book, tier equals to this. So in equality based, you are using the equal to sign. Okay, you are using equal to sign, double equals to sign, or not equals to sign. So say an example, we are saying the environmental variable environment equals to production, tier is not equals to front end. So these are the example of equality based, and whereas in the set based it is in, not in, exist. So here I am saying environment equals to production, but on the other side, on the set based, environment equal is in production or quality assurance, right? Same way, tier is not equals to front. So in equality based I will write like this, but whereas in the set based I will write tier not in front end or back end. Other example is when you are running through the command line, you are saying kubectl get ports -l environment equals to production. I want to see those ports whose environment is production, whereas in the set base you will write something like that, kubectl get ports where environment in production. In manifest file we will write in the equality based, we are writing selector environment in production, okay, environment colon production, whereas here we will create the match expressions, and I am saying key is environment, operator is in, and value is production or quality assurance. So That is the main difference. So this is the new generation of replication controller, which is named as Replication Set, and the difference is that to write the code. So that is the main difference. Okay, so you can write in this way also. The selectors on the left hand side is equality. So selector app nginx tier this, but in set base you can say match labels app colon nginx tier is front end. So this is also one of the difference between them. So equality is basically supported by replication controllers and services, and these new resources which use this set, these are replica sets, deployments, jobs, daemon sets. Okay, so now I will show you the same type of example by using replica set. So we'll go to our replica set. So this is our replication controller. So I will go to my replica set. Okay, so second controller we are going to study is the replica set. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, I'm going to open my replica set configuration file. So exactly same what we have done, but because the difference is here. Okay, this is the only difference, otherwise functionality is same. So I'm going to my master machine. So I will say create mkdir and I will create replica set, cd replica set, and I will create vi, and if I say this file, and here I will write the same code. There is no difference, only difference is the match. During the selection I am saying my tier can be front end, and match label other I can say match labels app equals to nginx app. So I'm pasting that code here and I'm saving it. Now next I would like to create the replica set. Yeah, Ashish, no problem. So here I will run it. Okay, so replica set is created. Now if I see, so here we have created 3 replica sets. So I will say run this. So now you can see 3 replica sets are running. You can search on the basis of the application, label as application. Okay, so 3 replicas are running. So I'm going to the next statement, which is if you want to see the replica sets. Okay, so 3 desired state, 3 current. This is the container image and selector is this one. Okay, so now next I want to describe my replica set. Okay, so you can see this is the description, which is 3 current, 3 desired state, 3 are running, 0 waiting, succeeded, failed. Okay, now next I would like this you need to do yourself. You need to watch it. Now you want to scale up. So I want to scale up. And now if I see the number of replica sets which are running, replica set. Okay, so what I did, I did not. Okay, so 5 are running, right? Because we scaled up. Now, if I want to scale down, okay, and if you see now 3 ports are running, right? Scale up and scale down. Now in the end we are going to delete it. Okay, so this way it is same. It is just a repetition what I have done for the replication controller. Only the difference in the selection. So Amit, what you want me to explain replication set? So replication set is same as replication controller, but it is the next generation controller, which we call the replication set, but the difference is in their selection. So this is the new way to write the code. That is the only difference. All right. Now, next, let us talk about the deployment. So deployment is another type which get controlled. It comes under the controller only. And what we can do with the deployment? With the deployment, it is same as you can say your implementation. So when you implement it, you need different kind of use cases. So different kind of use cases in the sense your application will never get down, which we can use with the help of the replication, right? If you want to roll back your application, if you want to upgrade your application, okay, if you want to pause your application, if you want to resume back with the new upgraded version of the application. So in all those cases, we use the deployment. Imagine you are upgrading the application from version 1 to version 2. Then upgrade with 0 time, upgrade sequentially one after other, pause and resume upgrade process, roll back, upgrade to the previous stable version. So all these things comes under the deployment. So we have, when we talk about the deployment, so deployment is basically can have the replication set, it can have port, and so because when I'm saying zero downtime or my applications runs with a desired state, then definitely that can be used with the help of the replication. And ports are running, right? Ultimately we are going to deploy the ports. So port is also the part of the deployment. So when you are using the deployment, then you are using ports and the replication sets. So the deployment kind or deployment files which we use for the multiple replicas, upgrade, rollback, scale up or scale down, pause and resume. Okay, so now you have noticed here that the replication. So it means what we are going to do when we are creating a deployment file, then I need to define the replica. I need to, means once my deployment is done, I can scale up and scale down because I have replication factor inside it. Okay, so there are different types of replications. Okay, so these are basically on the basis of some patterns. Okay, so um, for example, you want to recreate it, you want to do some ramped or incremental rolling updates you want to do, you want canary based deployment where basically uh, canary based deployments are basically patterns for the rolling out the releases and for certain users or servers. Okay, or you want the blue or green type of deployment. So these are basically on the basis of certain uh, patterns we use the. So blue green is basically it's a technique which uh, basically reduce the downtime and the risk by running two identical production environment. So we call these environment as blue and green. Okay, so there are different types of deployments. Now let us see the demo of this. Okay, so next now we are talking about the deployment. What time we are going to join? Same time we are going to join, and tomorrow we will start Ansible, Ashish. Okay, now let us go to the deployment. Okay, so here you can see my API version. First I will select, kind is deployment, metadata means name of my deployment is this, and label I am using this. So because deployment is consist of replicas, so 3 replicas I am using, and template I am using means the port or containers. So here the label is Nginx and the container is Nginx container, and I am using a specific image of the Nginx which is 1.7.9, and it will listen the port 80, and selector is my Nginx app. So let me create this. So I will create this file and I will go to my, so I will go one step above. I will create mkdir deployment, I will say, and I will go to the deployment folder. I will say vi and that file name, and I am creating this file. Okay, so this get created. Now I need to create the deployment, and to create it I will use kubectl create command. Okay, so this deployment get created. So I can see the deployment by running this command. So there is deployment, 3 replicas are running, 3 are up to date, 3 are available, right? And 14 seconds ago it got created. Same way, if you want to see the replica sets, so I will use this. So on the basis of my selector, so it is showing the replication set. And same way, if you want to see your port, so my 3 ports are running. Okay, now if you want to describe your deployment, okay, so this is my description, port 80, Nginx 7.9 application, these are the replicas, so all that information it is displaying. Now I want to do a rolling update, right? So what I want to do, I want to update my Nginx. I want to update my Nginx image. So kubectl set image deploy Nginx deploy, right? Which is my deployment file name, right? So this is my deployment, and I am saying in update it, set the image to 1. Actually it is 1.9.1, but I am writing 1.91. I am giving wrong, and -- record basically used for the if you want to check the history. So I am running this command. So this command I am running, and it is saying image is updated. And if you want to see the rollout updates, so the rollout which I have done, whether it is updated or not, I want to check the status. So for that you need to use rollout status of your deployment. So my deployment is Nginx deployment, and now it will keep waiting. It will not come out because it is trying to find the image which is 1.91 and it is updating it, but that image does not exist. And if this image does not exist, it will not perform the action. So you can see here it is rollout to finished 1 out of 3. So it is performing that operation on first port, but it is not successful. It is still waiting. So I am coming out of this by Control C, and now I want to check the history. So you can check the history of the rollout. So kubectl rollout history, deployment of your deployment which you have created. So if I see the history, so second operation is none. First operation was this, and by seeing this command, I came to know there was something wrong. Okay, and to modify it, what I will do, first I will undo. Rollout undo so it will do the rollback. So I am doing the rollout undo and my deployment. So now the rollback is undo, right? Now if you see the status, now it is saying it is rolled out. Okay, now let me describe and see my image. What is the image? It should be 1.79, not 1.91. So if I go here and if I run it, now you can see in my describe the image is 1.7.9 because it is rolled back. Now I want to again do the same type of operation with the correct image. Now I am saying set image equals to Nginx 1.9.1. So now if I run this, it is updated right now. So if you want to edit something, you can edit it, or you can get also. Both will work. So edit is basically if you want to do some modification. Yeah, it will not show the error because at the time of creation it does not know whether 1.91 exists or not. So it will keep searching for that. Okay, so that information now with the edit you can see the information, and now you can see here it is basically your describe only. And if you see the information here, you can see here my image is now 1.9.1. Okay, so it means my image is updated. So if I want to come out, and now I want to check the rollout status. What happened to my previous deployment? So here, okay, so now it is saying it was successfully done. And now if you want to see the deployment, you can see copy and just paste it. Okay, so 3 of 3 replicas are running. Now you want to update because now you want to scale up. You can scale up by using same, because this is a part of the replication, right? Replication is the part of the deployment. So I want to increase the number of replicas. I want to scale up. No, website will not be down, Venkat, during that time because it is not implemented. It is trying on one, but it was not successful. Other two are running. Okay, now if you see the deploy, now it should be 5. Okay, same way port you can check it out, and this you can try yourself now by decreasing the replicas, and in the end I am going to clean up my deployment. So when I clean up, it should clean up my ports as well. Delete it. Now if I say my deployment, so you can see there is no deployment. Let me check my replica sets. So now replica sets, so there is no replica set because I deleted the deployment, so it will deploy my ports and replica set both. Okay, so these are different ports are running. Okay, so let me see if someone is asking a question. During this process, the website is down. No. Or during update, basically what happens, Venkat, so it is basically upgrading it. So there is no downtime because it will update the first replica. If it is updated successfully, then it will update the others. And those who are connected to my different worker nodes, they will get the old website, but once they refresh it, once my replica is upgraded, then they will get the new website. Okay, so blue and green deployment. So Amit, that blue and green deployment is a type basically. So where you have, it's a technique which reduces the downtime and risk both, right? So by running two identical production environment. So one environment uh, we call blue and other is called green. If blue is down, it will go to the green. So that is called the blue and green deployment. Okay. Now, so this is all about the deployment. Now let's come to the next topic. Next is the daemon set. So what is the daemon set? So daemon set is basically it ensures, so far we were creating the replications. So replication, if you say 3, so it may be possible that all the 3 uh, ports are running on same machine or same worker node. But if you want something that it is to be implemented on each and every worker node or your specified worker nodes, then you use the daemon set. So what the daemon set does, it will run the particular port on each worker node. So say an example, you want to implement a monitoring service on each and every worker node. Then each and every worker node, in that case, what you will do, you will use the daemon set. So daemon set, if there is a new node, new worker node is getting added into your network, then automatically that daemon set service or controller runs and it create that port into the new set. And when a port is deleted, so automatically it removes that. Means when the worker node is removed from the network, automatically that port is removed. So this is the main benefit of that. A daemon set ensures that all or some nodes can run a copy of a node. Nodes are added to the cluster and ports are added. As nodes are removed from the cluster, those ports are garbage collected. So garbage collected means they will get destroyed. Deleting a daemon set will clean up the ports it created. And the use cases is node monitoring daemons. So there are some services, right? So like Collecti and Fluentd. So these are the some services which you want to run on each and every worker node. Then we use the daemon set. So let us see the example. Okay, so for that, what you need to do, we need to create a API version. Kind is daemon set. Metadata is the name of my daemon set is this. Now specification, I'm using the labels. I'm using the template. Under template, we are using the metadata, the label, and specification of my container is Fluentd, and which use this image. And selector is my name Fluentd. Okay, so I want to create this. Now let me create this file. So I will create a directory, say daemon. Okay, if I say vi, okay, I have copied this. I saved this. Now I want to create the my daemon set. So you need to just run this file. Okay, so daemon set is created. I want to see my port. So in my case, only one worker node is running. So it will show only one, right? So this is FluentD, which is running one by one, right? And now if you want to see the daemon set, so FluentD, desired state is 1, and current is 1, ready is 1, up to date 1, available 1. Okay, so there is no node selector, and age is 37. So if you want to describe this, so by default it has the replication factor 1. So here you can see the detail of this daemon sets. So desired number of nodes scheduled 1, current is running 1, right? Current is running 1. So it will give the complete information. Now what you can do, you can attach a label to the nodes, right? You can okay, so what I'm doing here, 1 second. So kubectl get nodes, label of the nodes. Okay, so here what I can do, so if you see get nodes, so it basically tells you what are the nodes which are connected. So there is one node which is the client, basically that is my working node. Master is basically my manager. Now here I want to change the disk type of a particular node. So what I'm going to do, here it is saying kubectl label nodes. Okay, let me just run this command. So let me run this command first. Okay, so if I run this command, so now you can see here there is no disk type. Okay, so there is no variable which is called the disk type on this, not on the client, not on the server. What I want to do, I want to add a property or label which is called disk type. So to do that, what I am saying, kubectl label nodes to client 1, add this property. So I am saying, so we will use this variable. So I am saying to my client, worker node, add disk type equals to SSD. Now this is labeled. Now if I run this command, yeah, sorry. So if I run this command now, show labels, now you can see there will be a disk type on the client. Do you see? Yeah, here. So now disk type equals to SSD, which was not there. Oh, it was there earlier also. Okay, I run it. Here you can see there was no disk type, right? So when I run the get node show labels, at that time it was not there. Then where I had given, here I had given the command. After that I say show labels. Now you can see on the client machine the disk type SSD is available. Okay, now what is why I have done this? Because now I want to run the ports on a specific nodes, not not all the nodes, but specific nodes whose disk type is equals to SST. Okay. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create this file. Same thing I'm saying, kind daemon set, name is this, template is this, specification, container, and now here you can see node selector, and the node selector is disk type SST. So now this will be only applicable to those nodes whose label is disk type equals to SST. Okay, so let me create this. So I'll say vi and that file name. Okay, and here okay, if I save this, now if I create this daemon set, now okay, so now you can see that because I was running on, I have only one worker node, so it is running over there. But in your case, if you create multiple worker node, then you can basically see that it will run on that particular node. Okay, so you can describe it. Now I'm deleting it. Okay, so there should not be any. So what is the use? Like Venkat, I told you that say an example, you want to run the monitoring application on each and every worker node or some of the node, then you, instead of using the replication concept, better to use the daemon set. Got it? Okay. So now next concept is jobs. So what is job? Job is something which you create, right? Your like your SQL job, database job, right? And some jobs which you create in your Linux like cron jobs. So jobs are basically some steps which should be get executed, and once it get executed, then you are basically saying this particular job is completed. Okay, and once it is done, job is stopped. It is not running. It is only running when you are running it. So say an example, I am saying there is a batch monitoring job. So running completion job is basically the batch monitoring jobs. The jobs which starts, it executes some set of statements, and once everything is done successfully, then job is ended. And scheduled jobs are those jobs which are same job, but it is not executing immediately. It is executing on a certain interval or certain time. So that jobs we call the scheduled jobs or the cron jobs. Okay, so run to completion jobs. So each job creates one or more ports. So whenever you are running a job, So your use case is something like that. You need to run a particular SQL job or some batch monitoring job. Then what you need to do to run anything, you need to create the ports. So to create the port, so on the basis of your job requirements, ports get created. Ensure that they are successfully terminated once the job is completed. Job is also a controller. So job controller restarts and or rescheduled if port node is failed during the execution. So it automatically reschedule or restart it, and can run multiple ports in parallel. So the main purpose of job is also that if you want to run multiple ports at a time, that also we can do with the help of the ports, and it can scale up using the kubectl scale command. So use cases are like your time initializations of resources such as databases, right? Or wherever you are having a producer consumer kind of uh, design pattern. Producer consumer design pattern is basically you are getting some data, you are you want to put it into a queue, and after putting it into a queue, that queue is getting monitored by a consumer, and consumer read that queue and take the data, process it, and make it empty. Then producer keep watching that produce that queue is, if it is empty, then it will uh, so if worker queue is empty, then producer again take the data from the outside world and give it to the worker queue. So now let us see how to create the jobs. Okay, so now let me show you the demo of the job. So I'll go to my here jobs. Okay, so this is the API version. Kind is job. Job name I am creating countdown. Specification is, so it is using so this is the metadata, my container, my port information. So countdown. Container, it has a container CentOS 7 image it is running, and I want to run some command inside it. So my command is binbash command is, there is a for loop which runs 9 to 1 and it will print it, and once it is done, my CentOS image means it is running on CentOS 7, and once it is done, then my job is completed. Okay, so let me just create a file, so we'll call it this file name. So I will create. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this. Okay, so let me create the job. Okay, so job is created. To see the job, kubectl get jobs. Okay, one job is running. Now it will create the port as well. So now you can see countdown port 0 out of 1 means because that job is now get completed, that is why that this my port is stopped. So 0 out of 1 is, and you can see the status is completed. So this is done. Restart 0. So it is not restarted, and 21 seconds ago it was created. Now if you want to see the description of your job, so this is the basically image, and this is the command which get executed. So how do I know that whether this command is executed or not? So you can basically search for you can test it. You can see the kubectl logs, and for your port. So my port was, I think, the same countdown. So I give my port name. Okay, so what was that? Countdown. Sorry, this one is. So now you can see the output. So it means my port is having some log entries, which command it has run. So run this command, and it was successfully completed. It printed all the numbers 9 to 1. Okay, I tried the same. Status for me is pending. Where it is pending, under describe it is good, and state is completed. Okay. Okay, so it is saying get ports. So is your worker node is up, Deepak? Yes, so it means it is not. If it is up and running, it should not give that error. You need to repeat it. Okay, just repeat this. So how to clean up the job? You first clean up the job and then repeat the process. It should work. Okay, so once my job is deleted, my port also get deleted because that job was running on that particular port, right? So if I say port, so now that countdown port is deleted. Okay, so this is basically about the jobs. Now next is the services. So services is what? Services is used for communicate internally between the ports and externally. So for example, you have a website. If you remember in our first example, the port which we have created, that we have exposed through a service. So service are basically three types. One is node port service, and other is cluster IP service, and third is the load balancer service. So node port service is used for talking to the external world. Cluster IP service is created to create the internal network, means means internal communication. If one port wants to communicate to the another port, or they want to expose a container on a particular port, then we use the cluster IP. And third is load balancer. Load balancer is used basically if you want to perform a load balancing service where it automatically checks which worker node that traffic is to redirect. So Ola is asking, can we schedule the jobs? We can do that, but here the preferable thing is that we can create the cron jobs, right? So the cron job, you can create it into the on the Linux level, right? Here also we can create the cron jobs, but that is not in your syllabus. But what I will do, I don't have that set of code as of now, Ola. So I will share that code with you. Okay, I will put it into my GitHub repository. Okay, now let me create a node port service. So node port service, as I explain you, this is basically for the external world. So if I create one nginx dot deployment, so what I will do, I will create the services. And if I say ls, I think I have services. I don't have. Yeah, I have here. So if I go to services, okay, cluster IP, let me create a directory, node port. And if I say vi and that file name, okay, and I'm creating one deployment, okay, and in this deployment I'm running one replica. So I'm just creating running one container, okay. So this is kind is deployment, name is nginx, so name of my deployment is this, label I am using this, specification replica is this, and selector I am using the app, nginx app, and container I am using nginx app as a label, and my port template is basically port configuration, and here I am using the container this port 80. So this deployment I am creating, and now this I want to expose it outside the world. Okay, so okay, I saved it. Now I want to create a service which is the node port service. So what is that? Kind is service, metadata is means name of service is my service, label is nginx app. Now selector is nginx app. Type of service, here we decide whether it is cluster IP, whether it is a node port or load balancer. So I'm saying it is node port, okay, and node port, and this is the port number on which it will be exposed, and how the port number is 80, which it get mapped, and my port network is also uh, using the port 80. So let me copy this and let me create this file first. Okay, so let me save it. Okay, now I want to, so this I need to run the deployment file first. Sometimes it happens if I say unknown command. Okay, let me write it. kubectl create -f and nginx -deploy.yaml. Okay, so it is created, deployment is created. Now I want to create my service as well. Okay, the file name is changed here. nginx -svs. Okay, so service is created, and if you want to see the services, kubectl get service. Okay, so you can see my service is running, and this port I have mentioned 311, right? So this port I have mentioned here. Node port is this. Okay, now what we will do, our nginx service is running. So I will, for testing purpose, what I will do, I will get my port. So this one is running, this port is running, this is the IP address, right? So if I say curl command is basically used for the HTTP response. If I say curl on this, so you can see internally I can communicate with this to this particular, this is the output, right? HTTP response now, or HTML response. Now what I want to see whether it is accessible to the outside world or not. So for that I will use the IP address. So it is running on my client machine. I will take this and I will use Control V. Okay, and you can see here it is mapped to port 80. So I will use colon and I will use this port, which is 3111. So it is mapped to this port. So I will say Control V. So you can see your nginx service is running. So which is running on your port. Now we can access through the web browser. Okay, so it means I can access it. So this is your node port service. Node port service is when you want your port which is running some services on a particular port number. You want to expose it outside the port network, then you basically use the node port service type. Okay, so now second is the cluster IP. So cluster IP is something which you actually, here I have created one more test.html. It is up to you. If you want to create, you can create one more page, put it into your HTML page, into your nginx folder, and you can see that will be visible. That you can try it out. Okay, now Let me delete this service. Let me delete both deployment and service. Okay, so this is deleted. Okay. Now, second type of service is cluster IP service. So, cluster IP service is basically which is only accessible within the pod network. So, same way I will create one deployment and I am saying two replicas are running, right, for my deployment, and this is my engine, exactly same deployment. So, I will run my nginx.yaml file. I think I have that. 1 second. Okay, so let me go to cluster IP server. If I say ls, okay, so I have vi nginx.yaml. So here you can see I have created one deployment file which is same as I have created for the node port. But now this port, this nodes services which is running on nginx service which is running on port 80 will be accessible only internally, not on my browser. So for internal communication, we will use the cluster IP. So this get created. Let me save it. And now let me run it. So you can run this command. So I'll say okay, so this is created. And if you want to see the your ports which are running on this with the help of this deployment file, so you can see there are two instances are running. That is correct because we have set the replica 2. Right now I want to create a service. So I'm saying kubectl expose deployment. This is my service name. I want to create to this service. So by default it creates the cluster IP service. Okay. Now if you say what is my service, get service name. Now you can see it is cluster IP service. So cluster IP service you cannot access through the, so if, and you cannot see there is a mapping, it is only saying port 80. But in our other case it was showing some port which is mapped to it. Now what I can do, I can use the curl command for my internal network. So if I say curl, so you can see that internally it is accessible, but externally it will not be accessible. So if you want to expose your port internally or externally, then you use the services. For external expose, we use node port, and for internal, we use cluster IP. Okay. Same way, there is one more service which is for the load balancer. So I would like you to try it yourself, that which is basically tells that how to connect your port for the load balancer. So load balancer is basically whenever there is a traffic comes, and that traffic is to be equally distributed to all the nodes, right? So for that, this is the deployment file, same as we have created. Now here is your load balancer service, where you are saying kind is service, okay, and type is load balancer, okay. And because load balancer is basically used for the external world, so that is why we are using the node port as some number, which is 31,000 I had given, okay. And now same set of commands you need to use, and you will see that load balancer will get created. It will be in the pending state for some time, but it will be up and running, and it will work as the load balancer. So it will, you cannot test it, but it is running with the internal algorithm, where if the traffic is more, it will find out the particular node where it has to load the traffic, and in that way will you try that load balancer yourself, all of you? Okay, great. So actually, as per your syllabus, that's it, but I want to cover, yeah, so I want to cover one more topic, which is I don't see in your syllabus, that is the volumes, but let me cover that. So in the volume, there are two types of volume. Volume is same as in the Docker volume we have discussed. So volume is if you want to uh, map your host directory to the, if you want to map your host directory to the port directory, or you want to create a normal volume, which can be uh, which we have used right earlier in our uh, which we have used when we were creating the literals or environmental variables, right? Not literals, in the other case, config map, right, file. So here there are two types of volume. One is empty directory. So I want to create one empty directory. I'm saying version is v1, type is port, this is metadata specification, and here I am saying mount a volume. Okay, so what volume I want to mount? I want to create a blank directory under this directory. This is my mount path. Okay, so I want to mount a volume, and my volume name is test volume, and it is having no data. It's a fresh volume. It's a pen drive which is blank. Okay, now this test volume you can attach to the other ports as well. So let me create it. Okay, we already crossed the time, but no worry. Let me complete this. I have nothing. Okay, I have CD volumes. Okay, so I have already this file where this is defined. Now I'm going to create the empty directory. So I'm creating that volume now. Okay, so this is done. Now if I see my port, okay, so now you can see, okay, so my empty directory port is running. Okay, let me describe it. Let me just see what is in this port. So if I run the df command, right, so I can see whether my volume is mounted or not. So if I use this, so you can see my volume is mounted on this file system, right, which is basically internally mapped to the target location. So, but it is at this moment it is empty, right? And if you want to describe your empty directory port, you can see that as well. Okay, here if you see the volumes, so you can see volume. Okay, type is empty directory. Now, if you want to delete it, let's delete it. Now, second one is more important because now here you are configuring your path, your local host path. So here I am saying mount this, and my host path is test volume. Okay, so let me just create this file, and the file name is, I will create it this file. So I'll say vi, and this is my file name. And this is my file. Now if I create this, okay, so this is created. Now if I say my port, so my port is running with the host path, right? If I see the my test mount is nothing but this in the container. Okay, so you can see it is mounted. Now what we will do, we will create some file. So we will go to our host, and to go to our host I need to connect to my client machine. So this is my client machine because my port is running on the client network. So this is my download. Where is my download? Is here. And if I say git bash here, okay, sudo su. If I say ls slash, so you can see there is a test volume directory get created. So if I say cd test hyphen volume, that is under slash. Okay, so if I say ls, there is no file. If I say touch 1.txt, okay, I'm creating that file. Now from port, now I want to check whether that has that file or not. So I will go here, and actually we don't have any data inside it. Let's write some data. So if I say vi or cat command, we can 1.txt. This is host file. So I'm saving it. Now if I run this command, which is basically I'm going inside the container and opening that file. So I will go to my master and I will paste txt file. So you can see that file is mapped. So my host path is mapped with my port mounted volume. Okay, so this way you can manage your volumes as well. So that's it for the Kubernetes. Anyone has any question? Let me see if someone has any question. Venkat is Deepak is yes, we can try. Any process or service in a ports we can only done. Any process or service in the ports we can only done by manifest file. Yes, it's not all the time. You can see we have run some commands as well, right? So, but the real-time scenario, you need to create the manifest file. So that is the real time. So that is how we work. Anyone else has any question? Okay. What is the difference between the port? One second. Port is normal, means your port, which is like you are using your host machine port. Target port is your port. Okay, so that's it. We'll meet tomorrow. Bye. If no one has any question. Okay, good night. Thank you. Bye.